All right, what's up, everyone? Another week of Pop Talk. It's your man, Casual Rand. I'm stepping in for your boy, Professor Nims, who's out on a work trip. With me, as always, you got your man, Boston Jared, and my man, Coach Dave. All right, let's get it. Today, we have a full card. The topics we want to hit today is pretty much, March is a pretty slow month, but it's promotion season. We got heavy April and heavy May coming up with good fights. We want to discuss that. We want to give you a Ukraine update with the fighters and the second and the third order effects of what's going on, like geopolitics and how it's influencing boxing. And then last, we want to do a coach's breakdown on one of the fights that's coming up in April. We're gonna go ahead and start it off, and we're gonna give y'all coaches the analysis from a coach's eye with Coach Dave on that. But first up, recently Charlos sat down with an interview. He sat down with the Last Stand podcast with Brian Custer. Shout out to Brian Custer, where he gave almost an hour interview, and he pretty much laid it out on the line of what he thought. He didn't hold anything back. So Boston Jared, why don't you start this off and what you think were the key points out there?
What do you want me to start with, man? This is more to say, man. This guy, man, these two, they're like cartoon characters to me at this point, man. I used to like these two, man. I used to like these guys, man. I used to, want to support them, man. And then they've turned into like heels almost. I don't know if this is something that's being engineered from behind the scenes, like this is a role they're playing or what. But I mean, I don't know what to make of these cats, man. He said some interesting stuff. I mean, the PED stuff always gets my attention because I think that the amount of PED use in the sport is, I think it's rampant. And whenever I see evidence of it, especially when I see a fighter point that shit out, I'm gonna gravitate to that. He said some real interesting stuff about the WBC, who, likes to campaign this clean boxing program. And I believe he said he only got tested like one time or something like that in the whole camp or something to that effect. I mean, what the Crawford stuff is what everybody really, really jumped on, right? That's what everybody's talking about, man. And I'm like, when it comes to that stuff, it's like, I don't know if I could take this cat seriously, right? Because him and his brother are company dudes.
Why? I don't think they putting on an act. I just think that's who they are, and there's nobody been in boxing that stopped them and shut them up. So it's just fueling how they go. You know what I'm saying? Like
I was with him when he said, if Crawford come up to 154, I'm gonna knock his ass out. I was with him. Cool.
I totally agree.
But I think that might happen. But then he went on this whole humble yourself, be the challenger, basically do it. I can see why you like the shit.
The boy can fight. You never said he was a statesman. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not talking about him actually fight. We talk about an interview. We not talking about
but I'm saying he's not a statesman. He ain't well versed. He ain't well spoken.
He need to shut up there. He need to say less. People who are not well spoken need to say less. And he one of them niggas. He need to say less because he come out. He say all kind of crazy stuff.
I agree.
He caught charges too. Did y'all see that? Somebody shot me a text on the way home saying that Charlo got warrants. That Jamel got warrants now. Beating somebody up or threatening or making terroristic threats or some shit like that. Hey, these cats need to sit down and talk with somebody, man. And all that telling Terrence Crawford that he need to do what Errol Spence tell him to do, that shit corny to me, man. That's just corny. If he had just said, you come up to 154, I'm gonna knock your ass out, cool. That's not far-fetched at all. I would lean towards Charlo in that fight. But all this shit telling him he need to humble himself and all this shit, how you telling a man, a multi-divisional champion, a former undisputed, he need to humble himself and do X, Y, and Z? You fought at one weight class your whole life. You and your man fought at one weight class your whole life. You haven't accomplished half of what he's accomplished. You're not in no position to tell this dude what to do. I think that shit is kind of a joke to me. Like, and I don't know if that's him trying to just be controversial, or if he really believes that, or what. I think
he believes what he says.
I think it's both. I think he's definitely, trying to be controversial. I think it's all the fight hype. Jared, I think just, with the whole Crawford stuff, I mean, this guy been fighting at this division, Crawford coming up, but I still wouldn't necessarily dismiss Crawford's ability to even bring that thump on that Charlo boy. What got me about the interview is that, I still think that, there's some up and coming ones, that he could have, gave a little respect to or disrespect to. That's in that his weight class, that whole. I've been talking about that Xander Zayas kid. I think for the longest.
You have mentioned Zayas a few times.
Talked about him a long time. So I just think it almost sounded like a boxing Kanye rant.
Yeah, you guess that's what it was. Yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry.
That's the way to describe it.
It almost sounded like a boxing Kanye rant to me, to be honest with you, man, to be blunt. But I just think that there was some critical stuff that he could have really discussed, instead of just shooting all off the mouth. Man,
what do you think about the validity of his statements about Castaño? He's saying he pulled out with a right bicep tear, but then he's on Instagram. His trainer's showing him on Instagram training, and it doesn't look like anything wrong with that arm. What do y'all think about that? And then the fact that his prior, when he mentioned the drug testing, he said he even called out. So it was like kind of flip-floppy. He sounded like the first fight he called out Al Heyman and company for not having enough drug tests. He said they only had one drug test before the fight, and said that Al Heyman's people said that he was supposed to ask for it before the fight, 30 days before the fight, to get more. But then after that, he said for this fight, Al Heyman was like, man, y'all get all the drug tests that y'all need. It's going to be multiple. So what do y'all take with that?
So go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead, man.
No, I was gonna ask Randy, like, what specifically do I mean, I've always thought that the way the sanctioning bodies enforce that and the way that shit is enforced, it's not the way you catch guys. I mean, sure, do they catch guys who are blatant offenders, guys who are using that shit with no regard, like Uzcategui, he got caught because he was using that shit with no regard, right? He was just pumping it, shooting it, whatever. The way you catch these guys is you catch these guys out of competition. That's when Canelo got caught. That's when I think Jarrell Miller got caught. That's when a lot of these track and field guys get caught. That's where you catch these guys. If you just start testing 8 weeks out, these guys are already cycling off because they know when to stop. They know when the testing is going to begin. It's not really an official way. It's just lip service to me. The other thing with the drug testing is that it does cost a lot of money. I don't know what the exact price is, but I know when you're an organization like PBC and you're overpaying guys to begin with, you're probably not inclined to want to add tens of thousands of dollars extra for a bunch of drug tests. Especially if you know your fighters are benefiting from it. You're less inclined to do that. So, yeah, look, I applaud Charlo for calling that shit out. And not a lot of PBC fighters are willing to be critical of the organization on camera. So I applaud it. I applaud him for that. Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead, Dave.
And I'm trying to think back, man, is this the first time that I have heard actually any of the Charlo brothers, call out PBC or Heyman or anything like that? I think it might be the first. Is this the first time?
You very rarely hear anybody affiliated. Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's, encouraged by how bold, Crawford was with Top Rank. You know what I mean? So, but in terms of the validity of it, I tend to believe the fighters on stuff like that. To be honest with you, I'll tend to believe the fighters on stuff like that. But I think the relevance of it to me would be more so significantly increased, kind of like to Jared's point, if it was more random and off fight camp. You know what I'm saying? That's.
So do you think Castano? Oh, go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry.
So go ahead, make your point about.
I was going to ask. Castano isn't a guy to me that I've watched him fight a few times. I watched him in the World Super Series of Boxing. I watched the Teixeira fight. I watched there was another fight. I watched the Lara fight. He isn't a guy that jumps out to me as being on something. There wasn't a huge change in punch output. There wasn't a huge change in his physique. Not that I can magically detect that shit, but there's certain guys who I can see, like Keith Thurman in that last fight. Allegedly, he was on something. Castano just didn't have that look to me. So it's not something that really jumped out. I was surprised when Charlo brought it up in regards to Castano. It's just not something that he's not a knockout. It's not like he's a huge not like he's a huge muscular guy. It's not like I don't know. I don't know that I see it, but he clearly believes it. And it's not like he runs around accusing people of using, right? This is the first time you've ever heard him go out there and be like, hey, what the fuck? So, I mean, he's been in tough fights before. Yeah. And he never accused Tony Harrison. He never accused John David Jackson. The guy's been in tough fights against the best guys in this division. He's never, ever accused anybody. So I don't know. I'm going to pay closer attention. Definitely.
What I took out of that is I think he's mentioned it as a possibility, but his main focus, what he said that he truly believes was Castano was not in shape for this fight and pulled up lame and said that's why he's the injury.
Okay, yeah, he did.
So he said he honestly believed he wasn't in shape, but then he brought up the accusations of the drug testing. But the other thing that I wanted to bring out about this this interview, which I thought the interview was great. I just somebody with
it was a good interview. It provides people like us a lot of content. It was,
yeah, right? Somebody with no filter just been put in front of a microphone and told to go. So the other thing that I wanted to discuss about this interview was his honesty about his brother. Like he defended his brother, like, yo, he a lion, he's great. He said that he thought that Jamal would beat Benavidez, but then he continued as more he talked, the more excuses of why he might not beat Benavidez. He's saying that Benavidez might be a better heavyweight, which is like what, 5 more weight classes up?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying, I've been saying that, right? I mean, I've been saying that. Yeah. Go ahead.
He acknowledged he's a weight bully. But he says that Jamal can beat him, but then he turns around later in the interview, and when he was talking about the pound for pound best, he's like, "Yo, I'm in the top 5." But then when he mentioned his brother, he was like, "Yo, my brother needs to do more." But he is a great fighter. But he was like, he was like, "Man, my brother got to do more in his weight division." You know what I'm saying? But he's a great fighter. And then he was like, "Hey, yo, if Canelo don't want to fight my brother, he can fight me. I'll take that smoke." And we all know that that's one thing about Jamel. He has never ran from anybody.
He fights everybody. He does.
He fights everybody.
He fights everybody. He fights everybody.
And while I'm bringing up his brother, the last point I want to make about this interview, which really isn't part of the interview, is that what the WBC is trying to make a Jamal fight with Mangia, right?
Yeah. Allegedly.
I honestly don't think that Mangia takes this fight, but what you think?
Dave, are you tracking this? You want me to go?
Yeah, go. I'm tracking it on a little bit, man. But I think if you take it because of the payday of it, but you definitely ain't gonna take it by winning, is what I say to it. If that makes sense.
The bottom line for Munguia is this. He's been nurtured and coddled now for what? Almost 40 fights into his professional career. He's been Jamal Charlos mandatory for several months. He's been Demetrius's mandatory for over a year. Eric Morales, who is his trainer now, has kept him away from those guys. His management has kept him away from those guys. Demetrius is out of the division for good, based on what I'm hearing. The WBO ordered Jeanbek Alim Khanulai to fight him. That's not a fight he wants. Jeanbek will pick this kid apart, and he'll do it on DAZN, and he'll get paid $250,000 for that fight. Why not fight Charlo in Texas? I believe he's still the WBC mandatory.
He's the WBC #1.
It's an easy business decision to make. If I'm Munguia's people, it's either fight Jeanbek on DAZN for some meaningless interim, or you go and you fight Charlo on Showtime or Fox in what would be a big fight. What would probably end up being a big Juneteenth fight. I suspect, probably pay-per-view. I mean, if Thurman and Barrios is pay-per-view, then Charlo Munguia has got to be. I mean, it's a much bigger fight. It's a no-brainer to me.
That's you take it for the money, but the victory, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, he's gonna get his ass kicked.
All right, with that, let's go ahead and change topics. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, March is pretty much a slow month for boxing, but the frying pan is on the stove because things are warming up. Because April and May we hit the ground running. We have like 6 fights on the books between April and May, and all of them are pretty much heavy hitters. So right now the fighters are out doing their promos. There's a lot of backstories going on each fight, and let's discuss. Let's start off with the Spence Ugas. We got that fight coming April 16th. What I really wanted to talk about with the Spence Ugas fight is like the last week when they did the promo, Spence came out and said, like, look, man, I feel with his eye injury, he felt robbed of officially taking the crown of the 147 division. That if he would have fought that, he would pretty much been in there in terms of people talking about him like Mayweather, Pacquiao, and almost to that level at 147. But he feels that he's been robbed. And Ugas feels that, hey, he's going to beat Spence, and then both of them said that they want Crawford next. So what are y'all thoughts on the Spence Ugas fight coming up?
So you giving predictions, or are you giving?
Nah, I just want the backstories and the build up. Like, you know what I'm saying? What's the build up, or what are people coming to see? Like, why is this fight important?
Well, they're coming to see. I think they're coming to see 2 things, man. I think you look at, if you kind of walk it up from Porter, Abel Ramos split the. Well, I guess lost to Porter, right?
Yeah.
Split decision with Abel Ramos, and then that fight with Pacquiao and how that thing was scored. I thought the fight was definitely closer. I think a couple of judges gave it 116 to 112. I thought it might have been a little closer, And then you're looking at the layoff that Spence has had. So I think this fight to me is 2 things. I can't remember all the drama that was going on in terms of how Ugas was awarded the belt of champion, like you didn't really earn it, but then he beat Pacquiao. So now, hey, yes, I got it, I earned it. And then people still questioning the structure and the healing of Spence. You know what I'm saying? People thought that Danny Garcia and that left hook, whatever, was a dangerous fight, but look what Earl did. So, been a couple of, some time laid off. So now he's back. So this fight, I think really sets up to me, and the fact that both of them, I think, are trying to call out Crawford, man, this thing could be on our way to us seeing some old school, a time from the old school when Joker just fought, let me really truly fight the best. You get what I'm saying?
Does it feel like that this fight is like going to be like almost an eliminator to get Crawford?
No.
We
already know what's coming up next. We already know what's coming up next. And we know it's Thurman. I'm hopeful that Castano beats Charlo, because I really think that we will have a better shot at Castano Crawford. We have a better shot at Castano Crawford next than we have at Spence Crawford next. I really do. I don't think them guys want anything to do with Crawford. As far as the buildup, I said this when this came up on this show several weeks ago. I give Spence a lot of credit for taking this fight off of 18 month, 19 month,
almost 2 years, bro.
Almost 2 year layoff, man, off an eye injury. It's not like he's coming off an ACL or a ankle. This is an eye injury, and that's a serious injury in the sport of boxing. I give him a lot of credit for taking a fight like this. I think Ulga it's gonna be a tough. I think it's gonna be a very, very tough fight. I know Dave think that stylistically this fight favors a guy like Spence. I don't know that it does. I think Ulga is crafty enough and cagey enough that he can make this fight very, very competitive. There's no way he knocks out Spence, right? There's no way he knocks out Spence. And the only way he walks away with a win is if he knocks out Spence, right? I don't see that happening. I do see a close, competitive fight. If this fight is fought in the center of the ring, it's going to be a long night for Spence. If Ulga is on his back foot and constantly backing up, it's going to be easier, much easier fight for Spence. It's going to be a lot easier for the judges to score it for Spence. Ulga is a bigger welterweight. He's a strong guy. And I think the pressure is on Spence to win this fight. If Ulga ties up every time Spence gets close to him and just doesn't let go and makes the ref take a point and the fight becomes ugly and unwatchable, I don't think Ulga is going to care. He's playing with house money at this point. I think the pressure is on Spence to win and win convincingly. And I think Ulga is going to take advantage of that, man. It's going to be a tough fight for Spence off a 2 year
Let me jump back here one more thing, though. I still think the only well, just kind of going back to the none of these guys want any piece of Crawford. I just think you gotta still factor in the fact that, you know, who's making those decisions for Crawford now. You see what I'm saying?
He's his own boss now, right?
Boom.
No,
Boom.
word on the street, he's signing to
Sauerland?
Yeah, but what's
MTK Global. MTK Global.
No, it's a new name. It's MTK Global, but it's a different name.
Oh, that's right, because the guy Kinahan got indicted.
Yeah, but we going that's going.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Okay. But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I just haven't heard that he's physically signed with anyone yet.
Yeah,
he's not.
But so my point being is that makes him open to do, be it anything. If PBC want to say we want to blah 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 blah, and then with Earl, it just keeps him up. So I just wouldn't rule out that there might not be that there will not definitely. I wouldn't say that there would definitely not be a Crawford. I just think that free agent opens up a lot more doors than people can really think about.
So only thing I want to say about this before we change subjects is that Spence has never lied and never put anything like sold wolf tickets or came out and said one thing and did another. And he physically is saying that his next fight is going that he is doing all his power to make this Crawford fight.
Yeah, but that's great to say, Randy. But we know now from history.
Name one time when Spence has said he's going after somebody and then it didn't happen.
I can't name that time. It has to happen, but I tell you what, Al Heyman runs the show over there at PBC.
All right.
Whatever
So
whoever Al Heyman says you're going to fight, whoever Al Heyman says you're going to fight, that's who you're going to fight.
All right, so the next fight we wanted to talk about, we're going to speed this up because we're going to end up running out of time. So the Fury, Tyson Fury and Dillian White, the promotions for that, the fight is April 23rd. We already discussed last week that White is not helping promote the fight.
Not at all.
But let's talk about some more backstory of this. Fury put out last week that this might be his last fight. I think that's bullshit, but he put it out there. What do y'all say?
BS, man. That BS. I think that boy want to fight Joshua so bad in the UK or back over in Saudi for that money, man. I BS. I think that would be his last one. That's all I got to say on that. And the Dillian White stuff, I mean, man, just dust this dude off, man, and then move on. Really.
I don't know. You never know with these cats, man. With the these gypsy cats, man. You just who knows what's on this cat's noggin, man. What is the Joshua fight? Is there a ton of money still in that Joshua fight? Yeah, I think there is. Definitely in the UK, but man, it's like I think Fury really wanted undisputed. I think he knows he's better than Joshua. I think he'd be the overwhelming favorite going into a Joshua fight. So as a competitor, from Fury's standpoint, going in and beating Joshua and essentially defending your one belt against Joshua at this point, I don't know if that is as fulfilling for him as a competitor as it would have been for all the marbles, fighting for all four of those belts. Or fighting Usyk for all four of those belts. Like you said, Randy, who knows when Usyk is coming back? And if you're Fury, I don't think Fury is a guy like his boy Billy Joe Saunders. I think that they've always viewed boxing as a means to an end. He's made plenty of money in the sport, and I think that their plans for what they're doing after boxing, I think they've got their eyes on that. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this was Fury's last fight.
Well, okay. Well, listen though. But so let me throw in another factor to you too. Let me throw in something that I think people tend to mistake: the greed and the power. Do not mistake the greed and the power of these sanctioning bodies. And I got it. It's all super duper sad that Ukraine is going through what it goes through, but man, that sanctioning body might sit there and say, well, look, man, we understand what you got to do, but you need to vacate these belts.
That's what I told Randy. I said that last week.
So do not, and so be honest with you, promoters, managers, and all that stuff, at the end of the day, that sanctioning body, that's really who you're going to fight, who they say fight. Now, people might got that money to grease the palms of whoever, but at the end of the day, don't mistake the greed and the power of the sanctioning body for them to say, and then you vacate them belts, man. Then it's anybody's game again. You know what I'm saying? What if Ruiz come up and grab one of the vacant belts? What if Wilder end up getting one of the belts back? It could be. It's wide open, man. But
that's what would happen. And if Usyk, because we talked about this last week, Dave, the sanctioning bodies can make Usyk champion in recess, right? And cut some kind of deal where when he's done with his obligation to country, he comes back and he gets a shot at all the belts, one of the belts, whatever. Well, like my grandmother used to say, one monkey don't stop no show, especially a show where there's millions and millions and millions of dollars involved. Right. Ruiz is in need of a fight.
Yep.
Deontay Wilder is in the studio making R&B tracks, but the word on the street has been for months now that they're going to bring Ruiz back against Deontay Wilder. And I would not be surprised if one of those belts was on the line for that potential fight. But bringing it back to Fury, Fury's fought Wilder, what, 3 times now?
Yeah.
It's been 3 times. I don't see.
It won't be a 4th.
No, definitely not. I don't see Fury. It would not surprise me if Fury pieces up out of here, man. There's just nothing there for him. Joshua is damaged goods. Him beating Joshua at this point is meaningless. You know, the guy's been beaten by Ruiz.
That'll probably be his last fight. So however they do it with the belts, man. So to wrap this up, man, the heavyweight division is something you need to keep your eye on for the next foreseeable future. Can we agree? Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Well, we got to see what happens with those belts. Like Dave said, we got the sanctioning bodies that make a tough decision here. They got to say.
So under the same umbrella, let's go to the Canelo Bilbao fight that's scheduled for May 7th. So the Canelo Bilbao, they're already doing the promotions. They had a promotion in California, San Diego last weekend.
Yeah.
But like word on the street and the sanctioning bodies coming out saying that Russian athletes won't be sanctioned for fights. And then you have Klitschko now coming out saying that Bilbao shouldn't be allowed to fight for the belt. So a lot of things are happening with this with this fight, and we got to see how it's going. So what do y'all say?
Well, hey man, look, I get it, man, and I get what's going on, but you know, let the guy fight. You know what I'm saying? That's what I say. I understand what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, but you know, and I don't know how Bibble feels about whatever, man. But just look, go ahead on, let the Joker fight if they want to fight. You know what I'm saying?
What Bibble gets to. What do the athletes got to do with any of this? That's
right. And Bibble lives in Canada. He's fighting out of Canada right now.
He's from Kyrgyzstan too. Now I know he fights out of Russia and they play the Russian anthem and all that. This to me is the sanctioning bodies trying to score cheap ass PR points. All you're doing is messing up the sport. What happens with Beterbiev? Beterbiev is in negotiation with Joe Smith now for a 3-belt unification. These are significant fights. Now Canelo Bivol is no longer for a belt. I don't think they take this fight. In retrospect,
no,
I don't think they take this fight.
Not at all.
If this fight is not for a belt, what I believe you would have seen if the sanctioning bodies had put their foot down during negotiations, pre-negotiation, what you would have seen would have been a 1-fight deal with PBC to fight Jamal Charlo, which is a fight that way bigger, right?
Way bigger.
Way more people wanted that fight.
For more money.
For way more money, way more notoriety. Despite the fact that there would not be really a belt, I guess Canelo will be putting his 168 belt, WBC belt on the line. I guess, maybe. It's the fight, and Dave brought this up last time he was on, man. It's the fight that the casuals want, right? And we know that casuals they drive the income, right? It's not people like us, right? The casuals drive the income. This is a dangerous fight for Canelo. People want to shit on this fight, man, and I found myself in a very, very awkward position. I found myself defending Canelo over the last couple weeks. People have called Bivol basic. People have called Bivol all kinds of stuff to kind of preemptively discredit Canelo. And I told them, I said, hey, Edislandi Lara is a basic guy too. Just because he got melanin, don't make him slick. Edislandi Lara is a 1-2 in and out type of guy. And he gave Canelo all kinds of trouble. Mm-hmm. Bivol got a lot more dimensions to his game than Lara. He's a little bit more creative with his punches. He's naturally a lot bigger than both Canelo and Lara. I believe he's been in the ring with better competition than Lara. He's young, he's fresh, he's got 19 fights, something like that, dude. this ain't gonna be no easy fight. He's got quick ass feet, and he's got educated feet on top of that. He's got educated feet on top of that, man. This ain't gonna be no easy fight. Canelo might be in, it might be a long night for Canelo on May 7th.
Got anything, Coach?
No, I don't. I don't think it's going to be as hard for Canelo as Jared saying. Or let me go and be straight up with that, man. I think that guy's youth might be an issue, yes, but I think Canelo gets his kid, man.
All right. So
you said by decision or by by stoppage?
I tell you what, man. Let me go back and look at a little bit more Bivol before I give you that.
Go watch the Joe Smith fight. Watch the Joe Smith fight and the Jean Pascal fight.
I'm gonna have you a solid now because I've seen them. I don't think those one or two, but let me really look at them with the eye of, is Canelo gonna stop this dude? And I'll let you know. Because I who else was I the only one that said that he was gonna stop Plant?
No, I don't think so. No, Cam called it. Cam called the round.
Yeah, got the round. Yeah, that's right. Cam got the round. But no, I didn't. Yeah. And also like with Shakur Stevenson fought, Jamil, Herring. So I'm gonna go back and watch the fight with the specific eye of, is Canelo gonna stop this guy or not? And then I definitely get back with you.
All right. Speaking of Shakur Stevenson, on April 30th, he's signed up to fight Valdez. As we mentioned earlier, I don't think this fight happens.
I hope it do.
But I do hope it does happen.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen just even at that weight division in terms of, quote, top tier fighters going at each other, or allegedly top tier fighters, because I'm still a little suspect on Valdez, to be honest with you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I think Shakur absolutely dominates this fight, man. It dominates this fight.
Okay, we're gonna move on. So possibility for the Jamel Charlo Castano fight May 14th. That hasn't been announced. I think this week they're supposed to the WB. What do you have? The WBC belt. What belt does Jamal? He has three. Jamal
has three.
Yeah, so what Castano has WBO?
I believe he has the WBO.
WBOs have make a decision to see if they're gonna who's gonna sanction this fight. So we're hoping May 14th to be the date, and I hope they'll be announced by the end of the week.
Wow, that puts together quite a string of fights there. The first through May, you've got Lubin Fundura, followed by Canelo Bivol, followed by an undisputed Charlo Castaño. That's 3 weeks of serious.
Starting with the Spence Ugas April 6th.
Oh, then Valdez, Shakur before that.
No. The Triple G Murata is made April 9th. So from April 9th all the way through May 14th, we have exciting fights every weekend.
What do we have mid-April?
Spence is the 16th.
Oh, wow, you're right.
Fury is the 23rd.
That ain't gonna be an exciting fight.
Stevenson the 30th. So yeah, man, and all of these people are doing their promos now. So every day every day you see on the news, one of the fighters are saying something, or they're taking pictures and are on YouTube promoting their fights.
Randy, this fight is done. This fight is a done deal. This Charlo Castaño fight.
You sure?
I'm positive. They got the network down. They got the arena. May 14th on Showtime. Crypto.com Arena, Los Angeles.
Wow.
This done deal.
Good news then. All right, so let's move on to our third topic. And we discussed most of it already, so we're not going to hound and we're not going to pound this one. I wanted to give a Ukraine update and talk about the second and third order effects of everything that's going on, meaning the heavyweight division is being held up, the possibility of the Canelo Bivol being held up, And then since we already spoke on that, let's speak on the Kambosos fight, because Kambosos was supposed to fight Lomo. Well, Lomo was in the running of getting that fight. It wasn't official, but now Lomo's out in Ukraine fighting. That leaves Haney. But I think Lou DiBella has like a grudge against Haney or something. Like he fucked his wife or something.
It's not a grudge. He just does business with Bob.
Man,
him and Bob do business.
Talking shit about Haney like he did something. And then so like 3 weeks ago, when we first started mentioning this, and I told Professor Nims that Ryan Garcia will find a way into the talks for this Kambosos fight. And lo and behold, from reports, it seems like the decision is between Haney or Ryan Garcia.
Which either one of them is great. I think either one of them is great. I mean, I hope Ryan's mind is.
Ryan, I can't say Ryan is great. Ryan hasn't proved anything.
Yeah, what has he done to get a shot? Definitely at all 4 belts. Maybe one. If you want to give him a shot at 1 belt, I can see that. But definitely not a shot at 4. This guy's been sitting around for 18 months. Like,
well, I mean, it ain't to me. The guy, the kid can fight. The kid is exciting, and I think people want to see it. Fast. He got. I mean, as long as the mental distraction hasn't taken any away from this guy's fight plan and how he has been winning, I think that it could make a great fight. And I still stand on what I had said earlier about you looking at that division. Whoever, Lomo, Haney, Kambosos. I think earlier on in an earlier Pop Talk, I said what's so good about that division is if you put any of them together, you know, it's gonna make a great fight, even if it's literally just for name's sake. All of those cats, any of them together is gonna make a great fight. And without looking at the record, what he's done, who's he got, the dude has a name to wear, and it would draw folks.
I don't doubt that it would be a good competitive fight. I just I like to be kind of a champion for the downtrodden in the sport here, and I'm not really a Haney fan. I think he's a bit overrated. Yep. But I don't see how you keep screwing over this guy for a shot. I mean, give the kid a shot. Like I mean, at some point there's got to be some sort of system in place, and you adhere by the rules of the system. Like, you screwed him out of a belt, right? They didn't sue, right? Which is what other fighters would have done. Guys like Dillian White and other fighters would have sued, right? Because that was his. He was the super champion or whatever you want to call it. That was his belt. He gets demoted to some make-believe designation, right? You pick Loma, right? Loma was the running favorite. Loma goes off to war. Give this kid a shot at the belts. At the very least, give him a shot to become the regular WBC champion. And then let Kambosos pick if he wants to rematch him or not. Haney beats him for the WBC, then they do a rematch for Undisputed. At the very least, he should get that. But they're talking about skipping him to let this kid who's been, that just doesn't sit well with me, man. It doesn't sit well with me.
Hey, we know, look, I tell you what, I'm with you and I agree with you. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for doggone fair and Mary Poppins and honesty and straight upness in the sport of boxing, bro, it just ain't.
I honestly believe win, lose, or draw between if it's Ryan Garcia or Kambosos, they're just gonna box out and just pull the Canelo route and start picking and choosing, and then Haney would never fight for it.
That's, you know what, Paul Andrade and Demetrius, they're cool with those guys, man, and I know that they have talked about his trajectory, not business decision wise, because I believe that Devin is better managed than Demetrius was early in his career. But as far as the opportunities he's getting and getting boxed out of it, I see the same thing happening to Devin. that you see happening to Crawford and to Demetrius right now, man. And it's
so
not
I
good for the
think
sport.
in hindsight, I mean, this kind of tells you, like, shows you the kind of foresight and genius of Mayweather. I mean, what he's doing now as a promoter, people hate the fact that, and I kind of hate it too, that he's slow rolling Tank, but he's pretty much showing that Tank don't need a belt. Tank is his own entity, and he's going to sell out wherever he fight if he ain't fighting for belts or whatever. So
That's nonsense. We shouldn't be.
No,
we shouldn't be supporting that shit.
Look at Haney. Haney's trying to go for the belts, and he's getting boxed out. Tank don't give a shit about your belt, and he's selling out arenas making money. So which one is the right one to do?
But the difference is Tank has an opportunity to make fights for belts, and they're choosing not to.
And they choose but they're still packing shows. So
right, but why do we care about that as boxing fans? How many tickets you're selling? We want to see good fights.
Yeah,
would you rather see Tank Rolly or Tank? I'd
rather watch Tank Rolly versus Cambosa. And now that honestly they're talking about a tune-up fight because Ryan Garcia got a fight coming up. That means that they're going to fight. Then Cambosa is going to be fighting some Lou DiBella fighter. So which one? What are we saying?
Tank is the only guy aside from Canelo Alvarez that can make whatever fight he wants across 2 or 3 different weight divisions. Maybe not 2. I don't know if he can make 130 anymore. He can certainly make 140, and he can certainly make 135. He can make whatever fight he wants across those 2 divisions, and they're choosing to make a fight against a kid who is a joke. This kid Rolly, and I hate to say that about him.
We're arguing 2 sides of a coin because, like we said, Haney is on the verge of being irrelevant at 135 because they will not let him in.
Yeah.
But the other fighter at Tank at 135 is selling out arenas because he don't give a shit about the belts.
But Tank is also more of a commodity than Devin is. Devin and his people his father will have you believe he's some big star. He's not. He's not. There's nothing empirically that supports that. Tank, at the very least, has the metrics, has the cachet. He can do that. Devin can't do what Tank is doing.
Listen, look at our name. The name of our show, pugilism. We talk about boxing. We talk about pugilism. We talk about the knockouts. That's what people want to see. Nobody wants to see no light-fisted, you know what I'm saying, fighter just be in the ring complaining he ain't got a shot. I mean, Tank gonna sell out because everybody thinks when he get in the ring, he gonna knock somebody the fuck out.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, Tank, go ahead, Dave. You want to say something?
No, man. I hear you. I mean, I guess my question though to you, Jared, would honestly be, because it's funny how you say why we talk about the money stuff, because early on in the pop stuff, you were always talking about the pay-per-view and nobody this, nobody that. Money wise, for either one of those fights, Cambosa or Haney, Cambosa or Garcia, like literally, which one sells the most tickets? Or is it really like, hey, who knows? Or it might be the same. Like, really, which one of those 2 sells the most tickets or gets the most money?
Oh, it's Garcia. It's Garcia.
Okay.
Garcia.
Okay. Now we know what this sport is about, bro. That's why I'm just trying to get back to say. And to be honest with you, man, I don't think they're gonna be boxing this kid out much longer, bro. I think that's why I want so bad for Valdez and Stevenson to happen. And if Cambosa and Garcia happens, I'm saying that what I think is that. And these people, and then you got these cats that's calling out Crawford, Earl Spence, to Randy's point. If he says something, he's trying to make it happen. It could be a slight twist in us seeing these fights made that could be a domino effect, man. That's why I'm just saying, like, I don't care who it is in those divisions. And that's a trend that I'm seeing happen, man. That's why I want Stevenson, Valdez, let it happen. I don't give Haney, Tank, Garcia, Campbell. I don't care who let them fight, And then after this daggone Ugas Spence, I'm just hoping that either one of them get Crawford. Whoever wins, that's what I think could be a trend. Don't know it yet. That's just an assessment of right now.
Yeah.
All right. It's time to move into the last segment. And this is a new segment that we have on the show. We're gonna call it like Coach's Breakdown. So earlier we mentioned all these fights that we have come lined up in April and May. And now we're gonna get the eye of the coach, Coach Dave, and break down the individual fighter. So we started with the Spence Ugas fight. And so this week we're gonna break down Ugas, and then next week we'll break down Spence. So Coach, floor is yours.
Right. So what was asking me is like what I would do to prepare Ugas for a fighter like Earl Spence, and what I think Ugas would need to do. And so I'm gonna give you just the points real quick, and then I kind of run through them. I think the number one, first thing first, is Ugas gonna have to match Earl's punch volume. Hands down, he's gonna have to match Earl's punch volume. And I think also number two, and Jared, I think, had mentioned it a little earlier, he's going to have to not let Earl be first all the time. He's going to have to stop that forward motion movement of Earl. And then also, he cannot, just fight with his backs on the ropes. If you're fighting Earl Spence and your back get on that rope, you're going to have to turn Earl with a quickness. And not only just turn Earl, but you're going to have to turn and attack, not necessarily turn and escape. And the precedent behind saying that is you can go back and take a look at that when Spence fought Porter, and you can even hear it from his corner. You can hear his daddy and Barry Hunter saying every time that back will hit the wall, turn and attack. And Earl, when he had Porter's back on those ropes, Porter was spinning and Porter was spinning and turning, and he was on the attack. And I think also, if you fight that boy Earl on the inside, and I had mentioned this also, I think way back we was in DC together with Jared, if you fight Earl Spence on that inside, even though Earl loves to rumble and bang, Earl is a fighter that bends more so at his waist than his knees when he's fighting on the inside. And when you bend at your waist instead of your knees, you put your head past your kneecaps and your body makes like a number 7. If Ugas is not touching the body and turning things underneath, seriously looking for that uppercut on Earl Spence, man, because he is vulnerable to that thing. I was talking with Jared after he had fought Porter. I think, Jared, that day you came up to my workspace and I told you, go back and look at that fight and take a look at how many times Earl was, bending over almost like he was looking at the ground sometimes, man. He was making that number 7 so much. Right. And then also you take a look at, even though Earl stopped, broke the eye socket of Kell Brooks or whatever, earlier on, his jab was stopping that. Brooks' jab was kind of stopping and making Earl Spence have to adjust a little bit. And then also in that daggone Porter fight, people were surprised how well Sean Porter was using that jab, shorter fighter, but was using that jab and was boxing with Earl Spence. So I think in order for you to beat this man, you're going to literally have to be a true boxer puncher. So if I had Earl Spence, and we was going up against him, we was in that training camp, man, we would do some type of marathon training to make sure that you can match that out punch, that match his out punch. If your legs can run 2 hours straight or 3 hours straight in a marathon, then we would be doing whatever training we could do so that where my arms could punch for 36 minutes straight. I'll be doing some marathon training to make sure that I'm absolutely matching this guy's output. And you have got to stop this man's forward motion. If you go back and look at that Porter fight, man, it ebbed and flowed in terms of who was initiating. I love myself, and everybody knows I absolutely love and adore Lamont Peterson. But if you go back and look at that Earl fight, look at the punch volume and then also, look at that forward motion that Earl was doing. So I think Ugas has a longer, strong enough jab to where it could give Earl Spence some problems. I would also tell Ugas to not always, you don't have to send that daggone right hand because Spence is a southpaw. You don't have to always just send it, wide. Straighten up that right hand and try to get that thing straight down the pipe on Earl Spence, man. Sometimes, so really, I got so much in terms of if I was going at Earl, man. Does Ugas have the attributes to beat Earl, man? I would say yes. I'm not even gonna get into the prediction because Randy just said, "Hey, talk about if I was preparing to fight Earl." So that's it in a nutshell, man. Let's match his punch volume. Don't let Earl be first all the time. You got to stop that forward momentum. You can't fight on the ropes. When you do get this man on the ropes, you got to turn and you got to attack. Don't just look for an escape. And you have got to be honest with you. I think Earl is more vulnerable on the inside than on the outside. He
definitely is.
But is Ugas a well-versed inside fighter? One, and two, does he? Ugas has a strong jab, but does he have enough power in his other punches to keep Spence off of him?
I think he has enough. Oh, go ahead. You asking Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, so sliding onto his weaknesses then, right? Sliding on to Ugas' weaknesses. Ugas has too high of a guard. And and probably what I'm getting ready to say as I talk about his weakness, gonna probably let you guys know which way I think this fight gonna go. Ugas is too high up on his guard. He's too high up on his guard, especially even when he's being attacked. Ugas leans too much when he throws that right hand. He's so flat-footed, and he is a stationary target for any fighter. The only thing, is he a solidly skilled inside fighter? I would absolutely say no. I would literally absolutely say no. That's why I'm saying he got to do more on the inside than try to shoot that little right hand down to the sternum, or he'll swing that right hand wild. When he fought Porter, there was wild punches, but his punch volume he was trying to match Porter's output, but not a lot of people gonna do that because Porter gonna bring that machine. You know what I'm saying? So I do not think that he has a solid repertoire of inside punch combinations. And what I mean by that is easy to be on the outside and know that, throw that 1, 2, 3, you know what I'm saying, or that 1, 1, 2 while you're on the outside. But I'm saying when you're on that inside, man, that body, head, and then back with that hook, he just does not have a solid punch repertoire within his arsenal to systematically dismantle any man from the inside, is what I'm getting at to answer the question. Hope that meets it.
Yeah, what you got, Jared?
Yeah, now if this comes down to matching punch output, then Ugas is not going to win. He's not a guy that throws a lot of punches. If he has enough pop to get Errol's, to disrupt Errol, and I don't know if he hits harder than Kell Brook, or if he can hit at least as hard as Brook, because like Dave said, Brook had enough pop and enough timing on his shots to be able to disrupt Errol coming forward. Yeah. So he doesn't have to hit Errol and make his knees buckle and make him cut him or nothing like that. Just touch him enough to be disruptive and keep him from coming forward. He has to keep the fight in the center of the ring. If he is on the outside of the ring and Errol is stalking him coming forward, Errol's going to get to him and at the very least outwork him, if not drop him with a body shot late. Like Dave said, Ugas does have a very, very high guard. He doesn't have the arm length that a guy like Lara has. Lara takes the same guard, except Lara's arms are so long that when he takes that high guard, his elbows touch his pelvis, right? So it's very, very tough to get through. Ugas is up here, that's very Euro, and I agree with Dave. that's bad news against a guy like Spence, who his mouth start watering when he see that guard, because he's going right to your floating ribs. He's going right to your body around the guard. And Ulga is not a dynamic defensive fighter. He doesn't have a lot of upper body movement. He relies more on his feet. He's very, very stiff. He's very, very straight up and down. But again, you're talking about a Cuban cat who has a million amateur fights or whatever, right? He's probably a few years older than what he's listed. He's fought all kinds of guys. And this is off a 2-year layoff. I just don't know what version of Errol we're gonna get. If it's the Errol that fought Danny Garcia, I favor him to win comfortably. If it's not, though, if he's anything less than that, this could be a long fight. If this turns into an amateur style back and forth in the center of the ring, very, very, very tough to outbox a Cuban. Very, very tough to outbox a Cuban. I can't think of many people who have done it that I've seen. You can outfight him, you can outbang him, you can outwork him. It's tough to outbox them cats. Them cats are master boxers.
So your advice for Ugas was just stay in the ring and stay at the outside.
As soon as Errol closes that gap, if Ugas does not have the power or the timing to disrupt his forward momentum, grab that motherfucker. Grab him and keep grabbing him until the referee takes a point. And if he takes a point, whatever. The pressure's on Errol to win. The pressure's nobody's picking Ugas to win. The pressure's on Errol. The pressure's on Errol to perform. The pressure's on Errol to win. You can't keep him from moving forward. Grab his ass. Grab his ass and make the referee come in and stop the action.
Yes. Yeah, but so from a trainer's perspective, though, Randy, like I wouldn't be training my fighter just to survive a fight. And that what Jared just said is you got a fighter that's trying to survive. No, I'm saying for Ugas, you train that joker to match that output. Even though Earl, and I'm telling you that Earl, to me, I'm telling you Earl is more vulnerable on the inside than the outside. Earl Spence is more vulnerable on inside fighting than outside fighting. I think that was evident every time that he backed Porter up, and when Porter turned this man and started attacking, Earl had several vulnerabilities. So I would make this man learn how to be throwing bunches of punches on that inside, and I would be saying, while you're on that inside, you digging and you creating a little space, look for that uppercut and be swinging that hook behind it. Try to get that man head out the pocket with that uppercut and swing. And then if you want to get out of there, get out of it. But I personally would not fight this man on the outside as much, looking at how flat-footed Ugas is and how he leans and, reaches with that right hand that he throws so freaking often, But that's to answer your question, and if I was preparing Ugas.
This is the trouble I ran into with Caleb Plant. And I assumed Caleb Plant would be able to do stuff that I had never seen him do before. I have never seen Ulga be able to do that stuff you're talking about on the inside.
Right. No,
maybe I got to go back and watch some of his fights. And it's the thing with the Cubans. A lot of the Cubans you see, not very adept at inside fighting. They need that space to be able to operate. And a lot of them are accused of being runners, right? That's just where they live. And if you can't cut the ring off and stop them from utilizing that ring, that's what they're going to do. I've never seen Ulgas throw those punches from underneath that you're talking about. I've never seen him be able to get off and work cleanly and effectively on the inside. And I really believe what you're going to see is him just grab and hold. Yeah. Him just grab and hold. And maybe Dave, I don't know, for a guy like Ulga who's fought a million rounds fighting a particular style. Do you try to get him to change at this point in his career for a fight like this, or?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You got to adjust to that fighter. And one of the things that I say, one of the hit hard boxing philosophies, and I used to teach these other fighters is, listen, man, you got to throw the punches that your opponent is allowing you to hit him with. Then it will open you up to throw punches that you like to throw. Back when I fought, man, hey, look, I love that. They used to call me gorilla hook. You know what I'm saying? I just love that left hook. You know what I'm saying? And I love going to the body. You know what I'm saying? But if a man is not giving me that hook, he's taking it away. Why am I going to keep throwing that hook from the outside if he got it taken it away? If it's taken away, then I might start trying to come up that middle. So that's why I'm saying you got to teach Ugas, and you're a professional fighter, so you better be able to learn it. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, you got to throw the punches that the man is allowing you to hit him with, and then you will be able to throw the punches that you like. And I'm saying that Earl Spence on the inside is really vulnerable than more people think. It's just that when he just be punching and dogging people so much that the other person don't fight back a lot. It's kind of reminds you of the days when Mike Tyson was just punching it hard and jokers would just freeze up. You know what I'm saying? But when people like Razor Rudder, you know what I'm saying, started doing what they do, I don't want it to be a bone crusher Mike Tyson fight where Mike Tyson was just, busting them up, and Bone Crusher was doing nothing but hugging and kissing it like he was trying to get in Mike Tyson draws, So yeah, man, you got to train them to do. And if he don't do it, it's going to be who implements that fight plan. But you got to go in with a fight plan to beat that opponent and not just, survive.
All right, well said. So that was Coach's breakdown. So next week we'll come with breakdown with Spence. But that wraps us up, man, for this episode of Pop Talk. Once again, you got Coach Dave, Boston Jared, and I am the Casual Rand, and we'll see you next week. Good episode, fellas.